Okay, hello. Um, oh dear, another Madonna death date prediction thing. The 30th of August is the date we're looking at. Okay. Um, there's a spot in Back to the Future. I don't think I've shown it before, but there's a rebirth spot for 8:30. I'm going to show you it in just a second. With Marty. Okay. And so we've been looking at this 820 date, and I'm still getting tons of 820 references and 821 references. Okay, so it's just not just I'm still seeing this stuff for 820 and 821. Those earlier numbers, right? But we've gone past that date now, and it made me think of Back to the Future and Marty being late right at the start of Back to the Future. Okay, and this idea of, well, if Marty's rebirth's late, then obviously the death and resurrection of the Matrix is going to be late as well, because those two things are going to be the same day essentially. So it made me think, hang on a minute, Marty's late, and don't forget, Marty is basically the name Mary with a T in it. Okay, so there's this connection as well, just with Marty's name and the connection to Mary. So anyway, Marty being late at the start of Back to the Future, the 8:25. I'm like, this is, maybe that's the date I should be looking at, 8:25. Maybe that's the date. But there's also, I'm thinking, well, hang on, there's also this 8:30 reference that's in Back to the Future, which I'll show you in just a second. And then I'm thinking, well, 8:20, 8:30, the midpoint between those two things is 8:25. Is that maybe why they reference 8:25 amongst other things in Back to the Future? In fact, 8:25 is a super strong reference for Madonna, or at least ties into Madonna's numbers, in the Queen's Cross decoding chart that I use. Okay. Anyway, in order to keep this simple, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some stuff for this first 8:30 stuff, and then what we'll do is we will move. I've got a couple of things from previous decodes which also tie into 8:30 as well. So I want to show you those in the next couple of videos. And in fact, one of them was the iPet goat thing. That still works very nicely still for 8:30. So I'll show you how that works still. And yeah, let's just crack on with this, the 38 references and the 30th of August. Okay, 3/8 numerology. So anyway, there was a couple of things in funeral rites. Obviously, the idea of funeral rites, your last rites, kind of thing going on here with Madonna with this thing. Okay, so the idea of death happening. I want to show you this point in the little video, and I'll show you the other point as well, where the obvious 38s show up. So let me show you this one. Now listen to what she says, as she has this revolver, which I believe is a 38 special. Okay, so here we go with a 38 special, right?
I saw it as a kind of death.
So did you hear that? I saw it as a kind of death. She's holding the 38 special. Okay, right, and notice the black purse here as well, the black container, yeah, like the coffin or whatever. Okay, let me show you the other point at which 38 is kind of shows up, and this is this blooming shoe again with the white wedding thing going on. Notice the 38 on the what? On the soul. Okay, so this 38 connection with the soul here, the soul leaving the body. Yeah, 38. Okay, so I've got this number in the back of my mind. Let me show you one more thing. with the Queen's Cross decode chart, okay, with the 38. Now, we only need to be focused in on this line here, okay, Lucas numbers right here. Remember, we were looking at 2, 8, yeah? The beginning is 2, the end is 8 here, okay? So we were looking at the beginning and the end, the 820, okay? Now, note, this is why the 38 was looking so interesting as well, is because this is the end of the cycle here. 38 is the end, 38 is the end of the cycle, tying into 8-2, yeah, which is the end and the beginning. So it's all really, you know, we're in very similar territory here. So again, you know, this 3-8 stuff, very interesting. What the other nice thing about 3-8 is that Madonna has a lot of tie-ins with pi. Okay, her birthday numbers tie in heavily with pi. Let me just show you in, you know, in this pi cycle that is in the middle of this table here. So this is why this is really important with the 44 in the middle. Okay, you'll notice that 3883 is right here. Okay, so again, this is super duper interesting that it's extremely close to the center of this table. And if you were just to look underneath on this particular set, we've got, so this is pi in the blue here. Underneath here is, again, this is the beginning of Lucas numbers here, and you can just see, you know, this whole thing is sort of synchronized right here as well. So this is extremely interesting. Okay, not to mention one other thing, actually, while we're here on this blooming thing, we just get all this out of the way right now. These bottom 2 rows are the golden ratio. Okay, they're just synchronized slightly differently. I don't want to spend ages explaining this, but Madonna's numbers are in the golden ratio, which is phi. Sorry, this is really phi. And people refer to this as the golden ratio. But anyway, let me show you. We were looking at, this is why I picked this day out originally, was because here, let's just use this particular piece of sequence. The 20th of April was Easter this year. Now 820 happens to be, you know, tying in with this, yeah, with the idea of, you know, the Virgin Mary and Christ being born, yeah, the birth of Jesus Christ. Not the birth of Jesus Christ, sorry, the rebirth of Jesus Christ, okay, coming back out of the tomb on Easter. Yeah, okay, right, okay. That right in here, so here's Madonna's numbers again, palindromic, okay, right, and for her birthday. And if we just look on this tail end of this here, notice that the 803, so read that backwards, the 30th of August right here, is tying in again with the other reference to Easter again, the death and resurrection. Okay, God knows what I was saying there, whether I was saying that right or not. That the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ again here. Okay, so with the 33 years old. So again, this is another nice date that ties in down here as well. Right, while I'm here, let me just show you 2 more things. Right, I didn't really want to do this right at the start of this. I just really want to knock out a quick video. But what you will notice is that there are 2 columns in this table. Okay, this top part of this table that have the 825 running through them. Yeah. So what this means, you know, as you look down this column, is all 825s, right? What this is 825 ties together what you'll notice is, if you look at these first three number sequences, 825 is tying three cycles together. It's a binder number, so to speak. Okay. Not only that, but it it runs through all the way down, binding the whole all of the different cycles here. And there's really only three different cycles, except the three different cycles just stop and start in different places. And what you'll notice is there are two sets of Lucas numbers, two sets of pi numbers, and then Fibonacci occurs 5 times. Yeah, we're in 2025 right now. Okay. So anyway, that's I'm trying to explain stuff that people may not. This is all again in the back catalogue. I apologise because I'm just skipping through this very quickly, and it's extremely difficult for people to follow. Like, what is he talking about here with this, binder column here, with 825. Anyway, let me just get rid of a couple of these things real quick, because I'll show you Madonna's numbers in the correct sequence only show up right here on a diagonal line. Now, in line with that diagonal line is Matthew Perry's numbers, and you remember Madonna had a stint in ICU on the 24th of June. So there's little numbers that tie in here, with Madonna. And here's 421, which is the Queen's birthday, and then here's 817, which is Sean Penn, the first white wedding, Madonna's first husband. Okay, 817, his birthday, and so forth and so on. And here is 263, which is a jumbled up version of the original release date of Who's That Girl. Okay. I don't really think I have anything for the 26th of, that's the Key Bridge as well. Okay, if you want to read it that way. But that numerology, ties in a few things with Madonna, but the one that sticks out for me is the release date of Who's That Girl, that has now subsequently been changed. You can't hardly find it anymore. But anyway, so there's little things on this diagonal line that tie in with Madonna, yada yada yada. But what I want to show you is something super interesting, right? Because Madonna is essentially the DeLorean, right? That is the time travel machine, which is the Matrix, right? For reasons which I will explain in another video, or if you have a question about why that is, so I can explain it, but we're not going to do it right now. Note that her birthday, if you draw in an upside down flux capacitor, excuse me, you'll notice the 825 ties into it, right? Now, and this here we go with the 518 or 815. We just had was it the Assumption of Mary on that day? But you can also now draw the flux capacitor up the correct way, and so here is the 19th of August. Again, that's the Matthew Perry's birthday, and that's just 3 days, inclusive with Madonna's birthday, and they are yin yang numbers. You can rotate those numbers, and they're the same essentially. Okay, but anyway, doing this upside down one now, 825's in it still. Okay, and 825's in it again there. So 825 with Madonna and Back to the Future, and this idea of 825 being, in between 820 and 830 as a sort of balancing number, or a number that ties two things together again, is kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, if we just come over here, look, here's her 426 ICU death and resurrection thing going on, and look what's tying it again, 825. Okay, so pretty kind of an interesting concept there. Okay, I don't want to go any more on that now, but you can see why, and this is what makes predicting so difficult, is because there are so many little connections as well, especially the more you look at different things, the more connections you get. And it's almost like it becomes more difficult to predict anything. It's like the more you see, the less you know. I don't know how that works, but anyway, the more you know, the more numbers you're looking at, the less certain things become, because there are more connections than you originally thought. You know, on the surface, below the surface, there's tons of connections, and of course, there's always going to be lots more connections. The more you reduce numbers, obviously, the more connections there'll be. That does kind of like take away though from the more reduced the numbers are, though, kind of does take away from the significance of them a little bit. But anyway, whiffly waffly, Dan. Let's show you this. Let's show you the rebirth. Let me show you the rebirth thing that I was thinking of in Back to the Future 1, and why this ties to Madonna. Okay, so when Marty gets back to 1955, okay, so the significance of this is the first idea of like being in the Matrix. Yeah, this idea of time travel, being in a different time period. This is all sort of, they're even referring to it as a dream at the start of this thing. Yeah, this is all to do with the idea of being in the metaphysical. Okay, so so he's right here. So he's just walked into town. Okay, and we've gone through this scene before, but this is what's important here. Okay, this music reference. So as we come through this, I don't know if I necessarily want to play too much of this, but he's going to look down. He's got the music playing, and in fact, right there's another couple of references that we're not going to look at right now. We've looked at them before in the past. But anyway, come on. If I go 5 seconds, it'd be too much, probably. Okay, back up. This is going to be painful. Right. So we've got a music reference, yeah? It says the world's greatest music. This is initially what I saw that, and I was like, this has got to be a Madonna reference. The idea of one of the greatest musicians. I use that loosely, but she does have some good songs. You can't knock her for, she's had some good hits, and she's got some good songs. But anyway, there are definitely better musicians out there than Madonna. But anyway, we're going to look at these three people here. Okay, and in particular, actually, we're going to look at this one. And in fact, what is interesting about this is the Edie, I die. Okay, Edie, and see how I'm just sort of changing that just a little bit, because it's kind of almost got the I in the start of this. I die. Okay, I die. Right. Okay, so I've got these other two in here as well, but we want to establish something here first, right? Okay, so this was Patty Page, November 8th. So we've got the 8/11 with Rocco again, but now we're in November instead of August, and we've got a 1/1 there, and then we've got Nat King Cole. We've got the 17th of March, which is super interesting with St. Patrick's Day, and Feb 15th there. Okay, let's move on because we want to go to Edie Gourmet. I don't know how the hell you say that. Sorry. Anyway, what is interesting about Edie's birthday? Oh, look at this. August the 16th. And what is even more nuts, okay, yeah, the 28 reference there, but 1928, Madonna's born 58. This makes this her 30 years previous. Marty has just jumped back to 1955. He's just done a 30-year leap. Yeah. So this is kind of, that's just another nice little thing that she's connecting in with this 30-year leap. Look, look where she dies, Vegas. So, and I haven't even run any gematria on this or anything. It was just, I just couldn't believe this. August the 16th. I'm like, really? So we've got Madonna's birthday showing up. We've got the 30-year jump back for her. I mean, it's just crazy. Anyway, let me show you the rebirth bit, right? Then we can have this video done. So anyway, Marty's looking at this. Now he's going to start walking backwards, and he continues kind of looking at it for, some time. Here it is. Records, okay. Backing up, and I'm wondering actually, I don't know if that is the, I don't know if it's further on down actually. I don't know what that is back in 1985. That might be, I've got 1985 up here actually. We could have a quick goosey gander at it and just see. Let's just go to let's go back to 1985 and just see if that record store is in fact the Eye of, come on. Oh dear. Don't poot her out on me now. Come on. What do we want to go to here? We might not want to play actually. What do we go to? Here we are. Oh, lo and behold, it is the third eye right here. So this is even better of a decode now, because remember in Desperately Seeking Susan, yes, we have this, the Eye of Providence, and in fact we'll tie this back in with this other dude that just died on the 820. But there is the Eye of Providence tying us back in with this record stop now. So tying us back with Madonna. So this is even better decode. Oh dear. Okay, anyway, he's backing up. Now look at the symbolism, okay, of what we've got going on here. Look where he's coming down here. This is the V shape, okay? This is the womb right here, and Marty is about to be reborn here, okay? Watch him. He's coming out, and note that it's going backwards for most of this as well, which is super duper interesting with the idea of, when you're coming out of the womb, you're usually coming out head first, right? Upside down. He's going backwards here, okay? If you can understand that reference, yeah? Right? So it's a birthing thing, right? He's coming down to the end of the womb here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a couple of seconds of this. So get ready for it, right? Okay. Is this our Madonna death date, rebirth of Marty here? The clock is on 8:30. Okay. On 8:30. Boy, I don't know. And then, of course, so I have the 8:30 death date here for Madonna, the rebirth of Marty on that date, yeah? Okay. And he's going to turn around and walk back up here now, right? And what we're going to see is we see the 9-1 reference when he does the newspaper here. I've shown you this one before, okay, with the 9 and the 1. Oy, oy, oy. So, I mean, I don't know. It is slightly ominous, to say the least. I'll tell you one other thing. See, we have the re-elect. Is this a re-elect or just vote Red Thomas in? I'm not sure. But when we go back to 1985, let me just show you you know, the re-election thing that was going on there, and we've decoded all this before, you know, and it all, if you've seen those decodes, you'll be putting two and two together here, with everything that's gone on with Donald Trump recently. Anyway, on the back of this license plate here, the 2H, yeah, so 28, and then we've got the 67 is how old she is now, so we have a 28 reference, and then it's an 820 on the back of here as well. So this whole 820 stuff, you know, this is again one of the reasons why I was looking at 820, you know, because of this thing, the Goldie, yeah, the gold pyramid on the back of the desperately seeking Susan jacket and all this stuff. Okay. Anyway, I have a nice reference. I have quite a nice reference back to the whole this whole thing as well in another video. Oh dear. So we're going to leave it there for this one. Okay. So is this Marty being reborn at 8:30, which is tying into Madonna's death at 8:30 maybe? Okay. I don't know. You know what we got up here? Is that eight? Is that an 8-3 there as well on the sign? I can't remember what that is. It's 3 something something. 395. That's kind of interesting with 8-3 and then 8:30 through to 9-5. We've been looking at, yeah, the 9-5 is when the clock starts over again. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay. As you can tell, I'm semi decoding this as we go along a little bit as well. So anyway, I'm leaving it there for this one. So this is the kind of the start of what we're going to look at, and this whole tie-in with 825. The whole 820 was late, and 825 is the midpoint between these two dates. So I don't know. Will we see Madonna? So 825 is a hot date for Madonna. But I like the 8:30 a little bit better, but you never know. And like always, it's probably not going to happen. You know, let's be realistic. I look at a lot of dates, and most of the time, it just leads on to another date. So I don't know where the end really lies for all this stuff. It's just guesswork. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you on another one soon. All right. Cheers. Night. God bless.